Good morning. I'm Sharon Dodson, and this is Elisa Gifford, and we're the co-chairs of the Beautification Committee. You want to go around the room and say who you all are?
Sure.
Start with Mike.
I'm Mike Reynolds. I'm a new member of the Beautification Committee.
Fran Gagney.
I'm Don Willard, Town Manager.
Nathan White, Public Works Department.
And we're going to have Mike moderate the meeting, if you will.
Thank you, Sharon. We did this last year in this format, and it seemed to work well, so we thought this year we would do the same thing. I would like to start by reading the vision and the mission of the Beautification Committee, which has been around for years. I won't get into that and step on someone else's toes, who will do that later. The vision of the Beautification Committee is to maintain and enhance the sense of community, pride, and visual appearance of the town of Raymond through the use of gardens, landscaping, and seasonal decorations. This will be a community partnership which includes volunteerism, town resources, and the business community. The mission: the Raymond Beautification Committee will develop and promote initiatives that identify and address the town's beautification. The committee will provide input into policy making and serve as a liaison between townspeople and involved town boards and committees, advocating for desirable improvements and maintenance. And this meeting today is the annual meeting of the Beautification Committee. It's April 10th of 2014, and we're here at the Raymond Broadcast Studio so that we can send this out live and then also replay it on our community television. At this point, I'll turn it over to Don for a summary of kind of how the committee was formed, how it came to be, about 11 years ago, as I understand, as part of the Route 302 beautification.
Right, that's the date of the committee formation. The 302 improvement project itself actually predates that by a few years. There was a planning process through the Route 302 Improvement Committee for a number of years. Actually predates my time here as town manager. So when I arrived, that was well underway, and they were talking about a number of improvements in the 302 corridor, which were eventually realized. The community gardens were part of that extensive program. We also ended up putting in a water line. There were curb and access management improvements, street lighting, sidewalks, drainage improvements, a full-width overlay of Route 302. So it's quite a substantial project. But what happens at the end of the project, we had these beautiful community gardens and a substantial number of gardens, and that's kind of ebbed and flowed and changed somewhat over the years, but nonetheless a tremendous undertaking, if you will, for the town. And so everybody loved the gardens and thought they were a great improvement to the community, but the question became how best to maintain them. How would we maintain them with our limited staffing and abilities in that area? So around the same time, we had a new director of the Bridgeton Chamber of Commerce, Mike McClellan, who's a local resident, and he happened by my office and said, "What can I do as a chamber director to help you?" And so I thought, well, maybe the thing to do would be to work on a public-private partnership between the business owners, who you would presume, and I think they would agree, that the entire project and the gardens were an improvement to the aesthetics and function of the corridor, and they might be willing to step up and help and volunteer, and then other volunteers, private volunteers, might be willing to help out too. So Mike agreed to go door to door to help facilitate that effort and talk to people and see if there would be interest. And so one of the early people, one of the early adopters, if you will, was Sharon Dodson and her husband Rick, who owned the hardware store. And so other people, came on, and it became a movement, an effort that was supported in the community. And I think over the time of its formation, 11 years ago to present, there have been various people involved, and we're always seeking new people and encouraging new people to step up. But it has been an example, I think, of a successful public-private partnership. We supplement the work of the volunteers with Public Works. I think the committee's going to talk about it, a little more effort from the town this year. But I'm just saying I think it's worked well, and we've got to try to find a way to keep that sustained. And I would like to thank the people who have volunteered over these past years and continue to volunteer, And I'm hoping other people are going to see the value to the community and step up and join the effort. We get a tremendous amount of positive feedback about it. I mean, way back, if you go way back, people said, well, you know, who's going to care about sidewalks? Who's going to care about the gardens? The answer is a lot of people care and use them and appreciate them, and we get recognized by other communities continually. You know, how do you do it? How did you accomplish it? How do you maintain them? And the answer is through this joint effort. So I guess in part of what's going on here today is to see if we can't make people aware of that and encourage people to step up and help out.
Thank you, Don.
You're welcome, Mike.
I did want to point out the four of us sitting here in our green T-shirts, one of them being slightly hidden by that wonderful sweater, but we're not trying to make your TV look odd, and I know these shirts of this color tend to glow on TV, but these are the shirts that the volunteers wear while they're down on 302. Often it's a Friday morning get together, but those dates change based on need, based on time of year, based on weather, whether it's going to be a rainy or sunny day. So if you see the green shirts and you're traveling 302, please give us as wide a berth as is safe for you, as we're often very close to the edge of the byway there, and cars do zip by us. So we did want to wear these green shirts today just so that folks saw them, and as a reminder, when you're coming down the road and you do see them far ahead, we often have cones, but you know, the shirts are the people, and we do want to make sure everybody is safe in their volunteering. So, Sharon, would you like to discuss the wonderful volunteers?
Yes, and these are also advertisement, because if you join us, you'll get one of these wonderful shirts. They look lovely with your skin tone. We had a great year last year with 547 volunteer hours, and that's from the walk-in weeders who go out every Friday morning, as well as the about 30 garden adopters, private individuals and businesses included. I wanted to thank Public Works. One big project we did last year that came as a result of our last annual meeting was cutting back on the roses at the beach and along 302, and Nathan was responsible for getting that taken care of, and I think that worked out really
Yeah,
well.
it looks really good down there, I think.
Yeah.
Made a big difference.
So much neater, and we were able to get it done before the heat of the season, so it was some really good progress. Made it a lot easier for us to maintain and for the adopters to maintain, actually. Also, I wanted to thank Mike for joining us last year. He spent almost every Friday morning from April to December with us, and that's, yeah.
You're very kind.
No, that was a lot, and it was great to, I don't mean to be sexist, but to have a man to do the heavy work, so we didn't have to wait for Nathan or call one of our husbands. It was a great help. Also want to thank Eileen and Howard Stiles. As most of you know, they have moved, and Eileen put in 10 years with us, and she was with us just about every Friday morning and had several adopted gardens, so her companionship and work will be very much missed. And we really appreciate all the work both she and Howard did at the vet park and getting the flag project going. Also want to thank Lonnie Taylor for donating money for plants at the beach gardens where we took out the roses. We bought half of those plants last year, and we'll get the other half this spring and get those in. Let's see. I want to thank Bob Payne at Raymond Hill Christmas Tree Farm for donating the greens for all the public areas around town, the whiskey barrel planters and the ones at town office. And I guess that leads us to Elisa, who's going to talk about the successful wreath project.
The wreath project along 302. This was an initiative that we came up with about 3 years ago, we were first considering putting out seasonal flags, but then decided that perhaps wreaths would be a decorative way to say that Raymond is open all year round. So we started with just 20 wreaths 3 years ago. 2 years ago, we put up 40 wreaths, and this past year, we put up 70 wreaths, largely due to, as Don discussed, the public-private partnership, the businesses along 302 and private individuals whom we approached were very generous in donating. Of course, the town was very helpful in publicizing the project and getting it on the website. And of course, we have to always thank Nathan and his crew for being there to hang the wreaths.
Right.
And also
take them down.
and to take them down, because that is a tremendous help to us. I think that this is something we were very pleased to see how well it was received by those businesses we visited. And Sharon and I did visit most of the businesses along 302, and I don't think anyone said no when we proposed this project and asked for their participation. So we're very pleased. This year we're going to probably try to expand it even more. So thank you very much out there, all of you who have donated privately and from your businesses. It is a very big help to Raymond as a whole and to the Beautification Committee.
And this year, at least, we were able to purchase the wreaths through a local vendor, weren't we?
Thank you, Mike. Yes.
Yeah.
Jessica Fay at the Raymond Village Florist very kindly obtained all wreaths at cost and then put in her time in making bows for all of them, donating the ribbon for that as well. Thank you, Mike. Of course, that's a very important part of the whole project. Yes.
Sharon, you mentioned all the volunteer hours. How many gardens do we have?
We have about 70 planted spots. They wouldn't all be categorized as gardens. Some of them just have trees, but about 70.
So it's 70 locations that have to be maintained by a corps of volunteers with the help of our town. And with, as I know is going on right now, as we sit here on April 10th, I saw them when I went to grab my coffee down at another local store, that they were in the vet park this morning doing spring cleanup. And I know that's an item that's coming up in a minute. I'm not going to take anything away from Nathan, but so 70 spots that have to be looked at. And you know, you mentioned the 547 hours plus some of the folks who adopt gardens. So it's not all done just by the crew you see every Friday
Right.
morning. But it does go to show, you know, as Don highlighted, you know, that an improvement project that brought 70 things to look at. I mean, for a lack of a better way to say it, that is not grass.
Right.
You know, it's not just go and mow it and make it easy. This is 70 things that need attention every year. And that's an effort. So I did want to bring up that number to kind of, you know, as people drive down through that corridor, to understand that it's not just a couple gardens.
Right.
So.
And some of them have some big challenges. We have some invasives that we're really trying to work with, and they have to be kept after just about every week. It's a challenge,
Thank you.
as you know.
As I know. So I'm a new volunteer to this effort. I volunteered as a member of the select board to start as kind of the select board liaison to the Beautification Committee, and fortunately my schedule did allow last year for me to step up and come out a few Fridays and help. It is humbling for me to have gone out there and understand. You know, I didn't ask how many gardens there were to be self-serving, but to understand 70 locations and go out there with volunteers every week and realize that from our standpoint, the group that would go out, we might get to 2 or 3 gardens a week, maybe 4, that we weed, we deadhead, we do the things that you see going on there. Well, if you multiply that by 70 things that need attention and you're only getting to 4, 5, 6 a week. Stuff grows all summer. And so we couldn't do it without other help. Last year, we were able to get some help a couple of times from the, was it the Correctional Center in
Cumberland
Wyndham?
County
County.
Corrections Community Service volunteers.
Right? Without their help, we never could have done it. And I'm not saying it was overwhelming, but when I say humbling, to realize how much work goes into this by, you know, a core group of folks, and the fact that these folks have been doing it for 10 years, I was proud to be part of it, and I'm proud to be able to put this shirt on and go out there and do what I can. And on the flip side of this, for folks who may not know much about gardening, I'm not a gardener. Sharon alluded to the fact that maybe my muscle was my most important part of my volunteering, but I needed training. You know, I don't deadhead, so I had to ask and be taught how to deadhead. You know, what's the proper technique for taking the weeds out so that I don't hurt something? And even more importantly, I think, at least I looked at you more than once and said, is this a weed or is this a good plant? So I may not have been the fastest at walking weed. I you know, brought my
You were pretty
energy.
fast.
I brought my energy, but I also was trained well. They made it inviting and easy, even though it was nerve-wracking for me to join and not understand what I was doing. The knowledge base that's down there makes it very easy to volunteer. So if anybody has some time, you know, even if it's one Friday a month or 2 or something, it would be very easy to join us and come down there and help. So I did want to say that, you know, thank you for inviting me with open arms, but also being patient with me as I asked all those wonderfully stupid questions. So,
They were stupid questions.
Never stupid questions.
so anybody else have something to talk about from last season? Anybody want to bring something up before we?
Oh, well, I think one thing is that when you mentioned all of the different gardens, I think the volunteers that have their own gardens, I've always been really impressed that all of those people take care of all those gardens. I know I come on Fridays, but I don't know if I could give my time for, you know, a private garden like that.
What
And
are
I
you
think it's
talking about?
great.
You do the walk and week garden.
Well, I know I come on Fridays and
Yeah,
do
but
that.
you also stop during the week to take care of the
I
walk
do,
and week
I
garden.
do,
Because
yeah.
that's the pink tulip garden and you're in charge of that.
Right, but,
What is that? The pink tulip garden?
well, the pink tulip garden is at the Panther Run. And actually, we have roses there and other shrubbery that has to be taken care of, which the whole group takes care of. But in the fall, we plant bulbs for the Maine Cancer Foundation, for the Women's Center. And we planted 200 pink tulip bulbs last year. And when Sharon says I've been down there, well, I like to deadhead the pink geraniums when they need to be, and I was also there pulling out the tulips when they die off. We let them die off and then we pull them out, and that takes quite a bit of time.
And
So-
there's a significant amount of weeding there as well.
Oh, yes, there is.
And pruning.
Yes, yes. But this is kind of how I started 9 years ago. It was an interest of mine because the pink tulip gardens were just starting around the state, and a friend of mine was very involved, and I knew of the process, and I asked Sharon, and she said sure, and then I became involved with the whole work on Fridays also.
So this brings up a good point. As you drive 302, you will see little signs for Adopt a Garden, which is what we're talking about here. So the Adopt a Gardens are not something that the walk-in weeders on Friday take care of unless they're requested to, or something happens and the adopter can't do it.
And we help each other with our own adopted
Right,
gardens.
and here's an example of somebody who not only has their own adopted garden, but also comes out on Fridays and helps out with walk-in weed. Where do the pink tulip bulbs come from? You're talking about 250 bulbs. It's not like you go down to your local garden center and just buy 250
Okay.
bulbs, do you?
The way the Pink Tulip Project works is that you visit the pinktulipproject.org site, and there's two things that you can do. One is you can buy your bulbs there, and many of the people who have gardens buy their bulbs there, which I buy the bulbs for that garden, and many of the girls have, before we processed into this way of doing it, they've helped me with that. But that's become my donation to the project, the Pink Tulip Project, so I take care of that. And the donations that are made because of the people seeing the project and being aware of the Maine Cancer Project with the pink tulips, they can go on and donate also at that same site.
So how
And
do
they
you,
can buy their own bulbs
Right.
for their
And the-
own house.
And the proceeds
Or
from
their own
the purchase of
projects.
the tulips goes
Yeah.
toward Maine Women's Cancer Research.
Right.
so
right here in
how do
Maine.
you raise money for the ones that show up in Raymond? Do you do it all yourself, or just you write a
No,
check out
I-
of your back
we-
pocket, or
no,
how do
we-
you do that?
Well, I buy the bulbs,
Yeah?
and that's my donation too.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a tax deductible, so much of the percentage, I would believe it's about 60% is tax deductible.
You
And
don't
then-
need to make
but-
excuses.
But the other people who would donate to the garden, or go on to the website, that is a tax deductible donation, the full donation.
And all of it goes directly to
But if you
Maine
want to
Cancer
buy
Research.
bulbs and have your own awareness of the Maine Cancer Foundation at your own sites for any reason, people do it for friends who may be battling cancer. That is something that they can also do on that site. And it's basically an awareness for people of, that we need to support and to inspire these people who are battling cancer. And it's also, a lot of the money goes towards research, right here in Maine. And we do have a luncheon for the Maine Tulip Project. And at that luncheon every year, they have different people who have been working on research in the state who have worked with the grants that were provided from this. But the pink tulips is not only just here, it's throughout the whole state. They have them in cities and towns, and it's been very successful.
So I know I helped plant some bulbs last year and take out other bulbs. So it's now time for one of my questions. When do tulips come up and when will they be pink? Best guess? Best guess, given the fact that I just started seeing my lawn this week and it's the second week of April. Is there a best guess as to when those?
Sometimes it's in April, sometimes I would think this
It'll be
year
May.
would be May, yeah.
Definitely be May.
Be
Yeah.
May this year. So if folks, think about it and drive, and if you're coming from the intersection of Webb's Mills Road, which is 85, where the vet park is, the Pink Tulip Garden would be just to the north, which would be across the Panther Run, or the water bridge,
Right.
and it'd be just on the right,
Right.
right before you get to Horse Feathers and that area.
Yeah, there's a nice little turn off there too.
So you can actually
Yeah.
pull off, and
Yeah.
if you want to get pictures of the pink tulips, it's a great opportunity to pull off safely, and so that's where that garden is.
Right.
Nate, can you give us a little summary on spring cleanup and what's going on out there now that the snowbanks have decided to leave a little bit?
Well, the contractor started yesterday on cleaning. He hopes to stay right on it until it's done. We've got bark mulch coming next week. We'll hopefully be down there sweeping the week after school vacation. So we'll get that all cleaned up and picked up. We've got some repair work coming up. Actually, one of them was contracted for last year, and our contractor forgot to come out and take care of it, and we lost sight of it. We're gonna put a piece of curbing out in front of the Mosquito ice cream, and down to that first entrance to Sunset Variety. Try to keep the traffic off the lawn there and the sidewalk. They keep cutting the entrance to that store a little short. And we got some loaming we're gonna try to get caught up on out there. We've also, asked the town for, 2 part-time seasonal help to help you guys with the weeding and the cleanup throughout the summer down there. My vision is to have them down there about 20 hours a week and assisting you guys with the weeding and the cleanup and whatever else you guys need down there. And we'll see how that goes through town meeting.
That would be great.
That would be wonderful.
Other than that, I haven't got too much other than whatever you guys need.
So Nate, have you had a chance to see what Winter did down there? Does it look like it normally looks, just needs to be cleaned up, or do we,
Yeah,
did we
it
get
looks-
some extra
I don't-
damage, or are we doing good?
I don't think we got any extra damage, there's a little bit more sand out than we normally have to clean up. Other than that, it looks like it's gonna clean up fine.
Yeah.
Got a couple of trees in front of the shopping center that didn't survive it.
Yeah, that's a hard,
That's a hard spot, yeah. We had a couple of conversations with the company that was plowing that parking lot this year about pushing up onto the gardens and the trees, and, I think we gotta get a little bit more, I guess, a little bit stiffen up a little bit more on them and get it to stop. Because they're killing the trees, they're pushing the trees over.
yeah.
And a couple of them I don't think are gonna make it.
So there is a little bit, but I mean, it was a tough winter, probably one of the tougher
Yeah.
ones we've had in a while.
Yep. A lot of snow, a lot of plowing, but
Yeah.
other than that, I think it's gonna come together okay down there.
Great.
Good, thank you, Nate.
Could I ask a question, Nate? Is there some way that we can make pickup easier for you? Can we consolidate in maybe 2 spots?
Actually, when you guys do your walk and weed stuff?
Yes.
No, that's fine, the way you guys have been
The
doing
way
it's
we do
fine.
it?
We send the truck down through there and it's fine.
Okay.
Whatever's easiest for you guys, cause it's a couple extra stops for us and really isn't that much of a problem.
I'm actually hoping if you do get that 20-hour-a-week person, maybe they can work with us on Fridays.
Fridays.
Because that'll be perfect training, and then they'll get an idea of some direction for the following week.
I would like to, we work a 10-hour schedule, 4 days a week in the summer, and my plan would have them here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So they wouldn't be here on Monday.
Yep, that'd be great. And so if they were with us on Fridays, they could take the piles right
Correct.
then, and we'd never have that through the weekend with the piles
is
out in front of
correct.
stores.
Yep.
Great.
That would be very good.
Yes.
Sharon, would you like to talk about Adopt a Garden?
Yes, we have, right now, I'd say we have about 30 adopted gardens, and probably half of them are adopted by businesses and the other half by individuals. And some people take better care of their gardens than others, but we appreciate all the work that's done. And we have quite a few gardens that are up for adoption, so if anyone would like to work a little or a lot, please contact me.
Can you define a little or a lot, just a wee bit more?
Well, some of the gardens just need maybe a half hour a month, and other gardens need an hour a week.
And
So,
that's based on what's in those
what's in the
gardens.
garden, how many invasive species are in there, how many weeds, how much trash. Some locations are very trashy and have to be just the trash picked out once a week.
Don?
Do you get recognition for that in any way?
Yes, you do. You get an Adopt a Garden sign. That's
Right.
right. So if you're a business, you might want to have your phone number on there. And I usually bring the Adopt a Garden sign, but I forgot to this time. But they're little signs about this big, and you can have your name on it, and it just says maintained by.
And without these 30 or so Adopt a Gardens, there is no way that the walk-in weeders could keep up with Route 302.
No,
Right? I mean,
absolutely.
this is an opportunity for folks to volunteer who can probably, or have an opportunity to do it on their own schedule. I mean, the walk-in weeders go out every Friday, and that's their goal because that's the goal they've set. However, as adopter of a garden, you could go out evenings, you can go out weekends, you can go out early mornings. It's totally up to your schedule when you go out. And so that's how this has kind of worked together is, you know, some folks, the schedule is better for weekends, and that's when they want to do it. So this is a really important part of the Beautification Committee and doing it on your own time. So
Right.
if there's anybody out there who, you know, thinks, oh, I'd love to be out there with the green shirt folks, but I can't do it Friday mornings, here's your opportunity.
Right. And we do offer them any kind of support they want. If their garden's really overgrown, they can just let us know and we can go spend an hour or two there on a Friday. And we can certainly get them started with their garden and get them used to what the regular maintenance for that garden is.
So I've alluded to walk and weed a lot. I've said the words a lot. Elise, would you kind of get into more detail on what that's all about?
Well, I appreciate all your input already, and it has, I will reiterate, been a very big help to us to have you as part of it, because you not only have seen what goes into it, but then you can report back to the town on what's, you know, what is the status of the 302 project. Walk and weed, that may be confusing since we're talking about the Beautification Committee. The Walk and Weed is actually just a group of volunteers that meet at a specific time on Friday mornings to maintain us work in as many gardens as we possibly can on a particular day. Although we may have projects like, as you mentioned, taking out the bulbs that we planted last fall. Once they're past, we dig those up. What happens to them? Well, tulips really are not reliably good after the first year of bloom, so we usually do not save them.
Well, we did try it.
Some of them,
and
it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
We've tried moving them
the
around.
leaves
and
came up and they're spotty
they just-
flowers and
However, some of them, like the hyacinths and the
Daffodils.
allium and the daffodils, we do leave because they will increase year after year. Anyway, walk and weed every Friday. If it's not raining, we meet at 8 or 9 o'clock, depending on the weather and the time of year, and we will go. We first start at the vet park, so you can always meet us there on Friday mornings. And then we decide where else needs the most work. And Mike alluded to look at. Yes, well, there are some gardens that we only look at during the year simply because we don't have enough time or manpower
to get to
to
them.
actually work in all 70 of them.
So we choose the most
We do.
obvious
Right.
problems.
The ones that are most visible, that need the most continuing help. There are some gardens that always have grass growing up between the ground cover junipers. Those we try to get several times because it is very unsightly. What else can I say? It is definitely, it's a learning experience for all of us. I mean, every time we go out, we see something new, or just conversing among ourselves, we learn things about how to do things better, or how we can make what we do last longer so we don't have to return as often.
Is there a social element to it for garden lovers and/or an opportunity to learn from, I know some of the people are master gardeners.
Elise
So-
is.
That's a very good point, I think.
So, I mean, if you were interested in gardens and you wanted to interact with people with similar interests, learn about gardening, learn about plantings, and improve your own knowledge, and if this were something you were interested in as a hobby, would that be a good way to do it? To interact with people
Yes, I think that's
who
a
are
very good
similarly
point.
inclined, and then also to learn something?
We all learn something every day.
Oh, yes.
But yes, I mean, don't be afraid to come out and, you know, whatever we can do to help instruct, we will do that, and I'm sure we'll learn things back from those who volunteer, so.
So,
Yes, it's
like
definitely
in
a
the case
social.
of Mike, if you, and I'm in this case as well, if you didn't know a deadhead from whatever.
sure.
You could learn about
Oh,
that.
definitely, yes,
Yeah.
of course. Nathan, look at how much Nathan's learned over the years.
I've learned to stay away from it.
Yeah, in looking at the gardens, I would share Mike's observation. I wouldn't know sometimes the weeds from what's important,
You can barely get grass to grow.
right? So if that were your interest and you wanted to improve your knowledge and have that social interaction, I think that would be a plus for folks.
Or if you're just starting a garden at your own home and you don't really know, you know, what grows here, what doesn't grow here, sure, come on, and we will be glad to share whatever we know
A lot of the walk-in readers are really, they have their own gardens at home and they're very helpful.
Oh, another thing I wanted to ask is that we've added, well, I guess we always did, the town office and also the library to our regular rounds. So it's not only 302, it's also, and the beach, which has undergone a tremendously good overhaul in the last year, thanks to Nathan. So it's 302, the beach, the town office, the library. Is that it?
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
and the
gonna do
public
this-
safety building
Yeah, and we're gonna do the sign garden at the school, at Jordan Small School,
at Jordan Small.
the one right out front.
Right,
They
okay.
took over all the other ones, but that one needs a little extra
So
care.
if an adopter would want to take that, perhaps, that would be an option.
That certainly would be. It'd be great if somebody from somebody who has kids in school or something might be interested in that.
So we've talked a lot about what people can do to volunteer. So now, Sharon, how do they volunteer? What's the best way?
To
Get in touch with us
Get
if
in
they
touch
want to
with us.
volunteer.
They can call the town office and talk to Louise, and the number there is 655-4742.
Extension 121.
Excellent. They can email me through the link on the Beautification Committee on the town website. They can contact us through Facebook, Raymond Beautification Committee on Facebook. They can stop in any Friday morning when they see us out there. There's
Oh,
really
that's-
no limit to.
Right, and we have extra tools too. If somebody
Yes,
is just
right.
beginning and wants to say, hey, I
Right.
want to join you, yes.
And if you don't have the ability or the time or otherwise able to volunteer in person, you can always, donations are always appreciaed, right?
Yes.
Donations, in-kind donations, cash donations, which are great, enabling the group to get materials and supplies and so forth.
Yes,
Yes.
and those donations can be made,
And they're tax deductible.
right, to the town of Raymond, and then just for a note for the Beautification Committee account.
And we often do have donations for the pink tulips
Right.
and, well, as you mentioned, and the pink geraniums in that same garden.
Yes.
And a donation, very generous donation we got for the grasses at the beach.
Yes,
Half of which we will use. The reason we split it was because we weren't sure which varieties of grass would actually survive
Survive.
those conditions. So I think the test has been done and we can finish that up this year.
I just had a thought, maybe I shouldn't bring this up, but it occurs to me that if people really enjoyed the gardens, and I think a lot of people do who live here, who are here during the summer, we've never done this, but would there be a possibility, I'm just throwing this out, to endow maybe a garden as a memorial garden or something like that, or would
That's an
that be
excellent
something we
idea.
might be able to do?
Oh, yes.
I've thought about that recently as some of the folks that I worked with have passed away in the community,
Right.
and people who have enjoyed the gardens over the years.
yeah, we have talked about that sponsor a garden idea, and that might be like a long-term sponsorship kind of thing. Yes, we're
That's an
open
excellent
to
idea.
all possibilities.
We do have one memorial garden.
We have the Scott Libby Garden.
That's right.
And right now, we're in charge of taking care of that. His co-workers at H&R Block maintain that for the first few years.
Well, that's another one too. I
Yeah.
know in the past you've had folks from the bank, and so if a particular business wanted to, and I know a lot of times businesses encourage volunteerism from their employees, so there's opportunities for, if you wanted to come in and do a half a day or a day or something as a business, is that true?
Yes, for community service, we have
Community service, we've had that before
different
too?
groups do, yes.
So you would help lead that effort?
Absolutely. Love to spend a day working with any group that's interested. The Rotary works at the beach, has worked at the beach.
So service clubs and are there age restrictions for youth groups? There are, right?
They have to be over 18.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
So there's something for everyone. when it comes to keeping up the gardens, I
Yes.
think.
And with Walk and Weed, there's no big commitment. You don't have to come every Friday. You don't even have to let us know for sure that you're coming. You just get on my email list, and I send out an email every week telling everybody what we think we'll be doing. So if it's a project that people are interested in, we get more of a turnout usually. People like it when we plant the barrels, or when we plant the tulips, when we plant at the Memorial Park. They like the seasonal decorating, so we get lots more help on those days.
Sharon, anything else to add?
I don't think so.
What's your last item? When does Walk and Weed start?
Oh, we were going to talk about
Oh, you want to do that too?
well, let's see. I guess we did talk about the 20 hours. Do you have anything more to say about that?
I don't.
Okay. We are going to continue to utilize the services of Cumberland County Corrections Community Service volunteers. Last year, we had 170 volunteer hours from them, and that was in 3 days. And this year, we have them signed up for 3 days before the 4th of July and 3 days before Labor Day. So that could be twice that number of hours, depending on the weather. So we're very excited about that.
We had a great picture in the paper last year of them
Yes,
here working and
yep, down at the beach.
down at the beach, and very visible, and a very, for them, hopefully a project that is very visible, you know, as people driving by, and then also what it means to the folks in the area.
Yes, I think they got a lot of good feedback from that. People who stopped in were very appreciative while we were out there working. Very happy to see them.
The feedback I got, of course, was that they enjoyed doing it too, so they actually.
I hope
yeah,
they
yeah,
did. They were
actually,
a really great group to work with.
I suppose, you know, the alternative, but there are certain projects that we have had them do that they didn't enjoy so much, I think, and so this is something that they did enjoy and felt like they were making a difference. So they felt very welcomed and appreciated, is what I'm saying.
That's good.
And we try to do that as well, but some of our projects are maybe not as glamorous as that.
Glamorous.
Or as,
Wow, I've never heard
maybe
that.
that's the wrong term, maybe it's, you know, there's, for anyone who's doing that, I think they get something, you know, out of that, you know, is different than, say, sweeping up sand or some of the things
Right.
Nate does.
There was a lot of immediate gratification because the places they worked, the weeds were this high, and
Yeah.
when they were done, the weeds were gone, and it looked beautiful. I think maybe anybody can see the before and after pictures on Facebook from last summer
Right,
when
the
they worked.
supervisor said they felt like they were contributing and had learned something too. Yeah,
Yeah,
so that was I got good feedback is what I'm telling you.
that's great. Glad to hear it.
And you know, that's actually a very good point to make for the whole committee. That we and those who work down there feel the same way. When we go into a garden that's just trashed from the winter or just has trash in it and we clean it up, we think, wow, that looks pretty nice. And there is good feedback, not only to us, but to the town.
Well, that's the
Right.
other point. I mean, we continually get, you know, comments, anecdotal comments. Sometimes we get letters, but we get people saying how beautiful a town is, what a great thing that is, you know, an enhancement to the natural environment. You know, everybody appreciates that sort of thing, and, you know, creating beauty is not a bad way to spend your time, right?
That's what we think.
Absolutely.
Right, Nate?
Right.
And it is definitely a partnership
Yeah.
between the town and those that could volunteer.
Right, and so it's still going here all these years later, and so we've got, I mean, the purpose of this meeting in part is to make sure it continues on into the future, and so can't say enough about the idea that anyone watching who wants to get involved in any way, and there are lots of ways possible to get involved. We want to encourage that.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So last year at this meeting, you know, we talked about a solution to some of the gardens that I guess I would call, after 10 years, had over-matured and become very difficult and unruly. And that's where we enlisted town help to actually have, I think, a backhoe come in, and which, if we had done by shovel, would have taken I can't even think if it would have been possible.
It wouldn't have been possible,
Okay, so.
unless you did it by yourself, because none of us could have done it.
No, all right, so, the idea of that type of help, and that was a big project that came out of discussion last year at this meeting. Is there a project now looming that hasn't been done that we should talk about as part of an annual meeting? Or is it, this year, does it look like going forward, it's business as usual? Is there another chunk of something we really need help by a backhoe to take out now that it's spring before stuff grows so that we can take care of another garden? I guess, I'm looking to, excuse me, the folks who know which things are weeds and which things are plants, to make that determination. But before we leave today, and while we've got Nate and Dawn here, I think we ought to ask that question of ourselves. And is there a,
Well, the Timbo's place,
There are still some gardens with roses in them
yeah, and
that are invasive and
and-
should come out, yes.
which are where?
They, is there one down sort of toward tail feathers? At the
There-
other end of the walk and weed garden?
there is, we can go over all of them and see which ones are the worst. What,
Okay,
Yeah, if we were gonna eradicate a garden, I'd like to know before we get the mulch down, while we're
Yes.
doing the spring cleanup.
yeah.
Right.
We do it as we go along.
okay. And you said that would be toward the end of April?
They're gonna be, we're getting mulch next week. He'll be probably all in next week anyway.
Yeah.
Getting them raked out and cleaned up, ready for mulch. So I would say, yeah, we wanna know about it by the end of next week.
Okay.
So if possible, we can do a
talk
drive-by.
about, yeah, we can talk
Yeah.
about it. We can talk about it right after this.
Yeah.
There are so many, we just have to have a little bit of back and forth before we
Yeah.
decide which ones.
I think last year it was obvious. Everybody was pretty
Yeah.
unanimous at which ones needed to be very quickly,
Yeah.
so. But I think now's the time to make sure that we can get that in if there is a big thing, and,
There's also a tree at the car wash that we've pruned a couple of times, and we're getting complaints about sight line distance
Yes.
trying to come out of there. I don't know how you guys feel about removing that, or try to keep maintaining it, trimming it.
I guess I don't know
We-
is
which
it,
one.
is
Well-
it between the sidewalk and the road?
Yes,
The,
yeah.
the only reason I would consider recommending that we remove it is because it was put in a spot where it really never should have been.
Correct.
That's a kind of spot that there is no other tree put in a spot like that. It's down in that ditch
It's down in
area.
the ditch, and it's hard to prune.
And it's right, yeah, and it's not a good location, and I think we wouldn't be establishing a bad precedent by removing it, because there's no other tree in a location like that.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a public safety issue.
Yes, yeah, it's starting to get so you can't, it's not so bad this time of year, but we get into summer traffic, people are trying to get out of there, and you lose sight of a car for 50 or so feet there, and it's catastrophic.
Most of the trees, you can either, like the one on the corner at the hardware store, we can prune it up so people can look through.
Which we
Because it's
did
setting
last
up-
year,
Right.
we pruned a
And
few
others,
trees.
we can, so that you can see the signs, we can keep them low. But that one, there's no spot where you can really see
Well,
through
it's like
it.
you said, it's sitting down in a low
Right.
spot, so you've
Right.
got the bush part of the tree is
Right.
down so low you can't.
And if
can't-
we were to try to let it grow tall enough that you could prune up, we'd have to leave it there for another 10 years. And plus, those are kind of a dwarf tree, and I don't even think they grow very tall.
That's kind of what I was thinking, that's
Yeah.
what I was hoping, was it was gonna grow big enough so we could.
Yeah, they're not meant to be tall.
Will that survive
So-
moving it?
Well, you remember what we've had for experience in the
Yeah.
past. It's very expensive to get those moved by, like Lucas Tree or whatever. If you guys just want to dig it up and try, you're welcome to. It's 50-50 chance, maybe.
Do you have a location you'd like to plant it?
Well, we could try back at the beach. We had some trees there that didn't live, in those beach gardens.
Yeah,
We could try that.
okay.
I don't know, maybe at the vet park.
Not in a sightline public safety issue location, however.
Keep moving it.
But, and it's a matter of, you learn these things as you go.
Yeah.
Best laid plans, and, if somebody even read a plan wrong by 10 feet, it could make all the difference in a sight line, so. So this is part of the ongoing, and I go back to the mature gardens, right? What is, you know, the idea then versus the maturity
Right.
now, things change. So an ever-changing landscape, oh, pun intended.
All right, we'll get that scheduled to get pulled out and see if we can find a home for it.
Yeah, I'll be glad to, we can go around and find a place for it to try. I can't make any promises about its survival.
So Sharon, you've got on here last of the winter or seasonal
Yes,
decor
we
to
need
be
to
pulled. And-
get all the greens out, and the snow is finally melted at the vet park, so Nathan, can you make sure those last 2 wreaths are down?
Yep.
But we do need to pull those greens as soon as it's thawed
As soon
enough
as
to do.
it thaws.
Yeah,
As soon as we can get the stems out
Yeah,
of the dirt.
right.
right,
This week probably helped a lot. I know for the first
Mm-hmm.
time this spring, I can now see parts of my lawn. I do remember that I have grass, whether or not it'll start growing in the next month, who knows, but, and as I was explaining to Nathan the other day, I had so much sand on my driveway that I did sweep it, and then after I swept my driveway, I realized that I spent all winter plowing the snow off my driveway. I spent the last week about twice a day shoveling the snow back on the driveway so that it will melt
Melt.
faster. So it's as Nate said, you put it on, you take it off, it just, the cycle of snow and sand is never ending, right? So,
Put it down, pick it up,
Mm-hmm.
move it around.
yep, move it around, push it over here, yeah. So I know that's happening at mine, so hopefully those barrels will, maybe in the next week, thaw enough.
They should, it's
maybe.
gonna
Yeah.
be warm enough.
maybe a week from tomorrow, maybe?
Yeah,
So
I
it's
think
pop-
it's supposed to be in the 60s this weekend, so that should,
Right, yeah, that should help.
Reggae.
yeah, that should clean things up pretty good.
Excellent. So Sharon, you've got an official start for Walk and Weed of May 9th
May
here
9th.
on our, May 9th at the Memorial Park at 9 a.m. And anything else you want to add before we adjourn today?
Nothing I can think of.
Nate, Dawn, anything we can do better as a beautification committee, communication-wise or information-wise for you folks?
I can't say enough good about the volunteer community in this group that takes care of that. We couldn't do it without them, so, and the communication's been fine.
Yes, we're able to call and
Yeah.
and text you and email you
Yep.
3 or 4 times a week very well, aren't we?
He always answers,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah, I would definitely echo that, and so I think it's been a success over the past decade and more, and we're hoping that it continues on into the future, so whatever we can do to help, we're here, and we'll try to add additional resources as we are doing in the budget this year, and with the support of the Board of Selectmen. So, yeah, I think it's a project that's worthy of continuation, and I hope it does continue.
Yeah, we're very excited for a new year.
we're ready.
Can't wait to get out there.
We're always ready for new ideas, too.
Yes, absolutely.
If you have nothing else, Sharon, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic.